the Oakland Athletics, Dallen, a team that I love. I'm a fan of. It's no way to live your life, but it's what I'm stuck with. Obviously they're leaving Oakland, right? It looks like the city of Las Vegas has just approved a $300 million deal to build a stadium in Las Vegas. This was just in the last couple of days. Oakland fans clearly upset, right? Because the team has been so poorly managed over the last few years, really since their last playoff run. And the disputes with the city of Oakland on whether they're getting a new stadium or not, and their refusal to allocate any sort of resources towards that. Lots of frustration there. A's fans are fed up, and they're fed up with the owner, John Fisher. And so they hosted a reverse boycott where instead of not coming to games, 27,000 fans attended Tuesday's game and held a moment of silence during the middle of the fifth inning. Batter came up, dead silence as a ball was ripped down the left field line, double. After that ball was fielded, instantly fans started chanting, "Sell the team, sell the team, sell the team." And I'm telling you right now, Dallen, as an A's fan, and I think as a sports fan, you don't even have to be a fan of the A's. You can sympathize with A's fans and agree with them on this. John Fisher needs to sell the team. It needs new management. It's poorly run. He has absolutely run this team into the ground. I don't think moving to Las Vegas makes any sort of difference at this point because it just from top to bottom organizationally, it is a disaster. A's fans have all the right in the world to be upset, and they have all the right in the world to feel frustrated. I know I'm one of them. So this was something that I applaud A's fans for. I love it. I just wish that they weren't getting all that attendance money. That John Fisher wasn't raking in all that attendance money because, they need a change at the top, and it starts with John Fisher, but he's so stubborn, and it's very apparent in the way that he manages his money, the way that their salary cap has been for decades. It's a mess in Oakland. It is a mess in Oakland. And honestly, as much as I'll miss having the availability to go to A's games, I'm glad they're moving to Las Vegas because at least it might be a fresh start and we might get a change of sail here for the Oakland A's.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud A's fans and those, that participated in this because, I think this is just like a really cool thing for fans to say, just remind everybody out there because the narrative, and I'm sure that A's ownership has tried to spin this narrative and a lot of the media have picked up this narrative that, you look at the attendance numbers this year at A's games and you say, see, this is why they're moving to Vegas, right? See, only 3,000 people show up to games. This is why they have to move to Vegas. That's not the case. Anyone who knows the Oakland A's and knows the situation knows that's not the case. It's the ownership. It's the poor ownership and how all of that is factored into this situation that they're in now. And I love that A's fans took this moment to remind people and say, hold on, just as a reminder, this is not us. All right.
No.
If we are here, we would love to be here. We would love to support a great franchise, but we can't because this is not. But so we're just going to remind everyone that this is not our fault that this team is moving to Las Vegas. And they made that statement very clear in my mind. And I think it's a good reminder because, again, this is not because of just lack of fan interest. This is a poor management that has run fans away from the team and made them disinterested in the product that he's given them.
For people that don't know, and for people that have bought into that narrative, A's fans are just as rabid as any other fan base in the country, regardless of sport. I mean, if you've ever been to an A's game when they're, 90 and 55 and they're winning and things are good, that is a raucous crowd. I mean, rowdy crowd. You had the headbangers over in right field. They're headbanging. They're raging when Grant Balfour would come in to close a game. They're punching the air. Like, this is a rowdy crowd. Raucous. they're fed up. They're fed up, and that's why the attendance was down. And like you said, I'm glad that they did this to remind everyone. No, we're still here. We're just pissed off at what's going on up top. So
yeah,
good on A's fans. Good on A's fans, and I stand with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mitch, a little bit of news here. This is we don't talk much soccer on this podcast, and Mitch arguably begrudgingly humors me by talking soccer when we do, like the World Cup this past year, which was so much fun. Loved the World Cup. Speaking of the World Cup champion, arguably the greatest soccer player of all time, if you ask certain people, Lionel Messi, the Argentinian. His time was ending with Paris Saint-Germain. And he was looking for a new destination. He had reportedly received a $1 billion deal to join a Saudi Arabian soccer team. But he decided to take his talents to the good old United States of America, Mitch. He is coming to the MLS, and he's joining Inter Miami this season, probably in July, August. That's when he's anticipated to join the club. Listen, Inter Miami is in last place in the Eastern Conference standings of the MLS. Like this, he's not joining this team because it's like a good team. He's joining it because it's in Miami, and Messi is thinking to himself, where would I like to live for the next, 4 to 5 years as I end my career? Oh, Miami? Okay, that sounds great. Mitch, Messi, the greatest player of all time, is coming to America. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much more interested are you in the MLS and American soccer now?
0.01. I mean,
what? Okay. Well,
okay. Actually, okay. Let me be.
It's Messi, Mitch.
Okay, look.
Come on.
Okay. So let me just be honest here. I have zero interest in soccer. I do.
Sure.
I think it's incredibly boring to watch, and it's only because I have no idea what the hell's going on. Okay. I'm sure for soccer fans, when you know what's going on, it's the most exciting thing in the world. Chasing a ball around a field larger than a football field, and they're just chasing around and kicking it to each other. And then you might wind up with a 0-0 score at the end of it, and they're going, wow, what a game. That was such a great game. No one scored. What do you mean a great game? So, look, I get that soccer fans are probably really excited about it. For me to be genuinely honest,
yeah,
it's exciting that you get the world's best soccer player to show up in an American sanctioned league. It's awesome. I really don't care. But pardon me. Great for Messi. I'm excited that we have him here. This has to be one of the biggest addings since probably David Beckham to bring over here. So
it is. It's a very David Beckham-esque move, and I think maybe that one in hindsight was bigger just because the MLS was so not what it is today. And it's obviously on the scale, it's still not comparative to the other major sports leagues that we have. But I mean, 20 years ago, the MLS like 20 teams. So the fact that David Beckham was going to play in the United States is like, wow. But I mean, Messi is like a next level of player. He is the best soccer player in the world. So it is pretty significant, obviously, for major sports as a whole and what it means for the eyes on soccer. And we'll see what sort of effect does that mean. Do other superstars join and say, hey, Messi's over there? Oh, shoot, well, I'll go play for LA. I'll go play, that could, we'll see what sort of effect maybe it could have on the future growth.
Maybe Messi makes me dabble.
Okay.
In soccer.
You'll think about it now.
I'll think about it because look, when David Beckham came in, I remember us as kids when David Beckham, it was like a big deal. It was like, David Beckham's here. Oh my God.
Exactly.
And like they had other big names. They had Zlatan came over here a few years ago.
Freddie Adu?
Freddie Adu,
16-year-old, he was like 15 when he joined the MLS. It was like, what is this? That was,
I think Wayne Rooney came over at one point.
Yeah.
So like there's names, and maybe Messi will make me dabble, but like I'm not a soccer guy.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll spark my interest
you.
Enough to just tune in and give it a try. Okay,
I love
give it a try.
All right. We'll see if Messi can convert Mitch to soccer as he now will join the MLS here.
Oh, boy. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I just soccer. It's like trying that one food you know you won't like,
And
but
everyone
you feel
keeps
like
telling you, you'll really like it.
you'll love
Trust
it.
me, man.
You'll
You just
love
gotta
it.
try it one more time. Try it one more time, and I promise.
And you're just like, you're hesitant, but you know you will.
Oh, man. Hilarious.
Yeah. All right, Dallin. So yeah, Messi joins the MLS, but we got to move over to the PGA really quick. The PGA and LIV Golf have reached a merger agreement. Basically, what this is going to do is that the PGA and LIV Golf will merge to be a majority-owned league by the PGA. They will be the majority owner in this. The PIF, which is the Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, they currently own about 90% of LIV Golf. They will be the minority stakeholders in this entity. Obviously, there is a lot of controversy behind this merger that I think politically we should just stay out of, because there's going to be a lot of different takes on that. But I think that as a whole, Dallin, I felt like this was coming at some point. It felt like two golf leagues just wasn't going to work. That one was going to have to give at some point. I was looking at the numbers. I think that LIV made absolutely zero money, like generated zero revenue in 2022. So it was a kind of a losing venture at that point, especially when you think about how much money they shelled over just to bring the big names. So this was going to happen at some point. Dallin, what is your takeaway from this? Do we kind of move past it, just continue to look at it as the PGA as it used to be? Or is there going to be some sort of stain now on this legacy of the league that, they merged with a rival league?
Yeah, well, I think this changes a lot. I think first off, I think this pretty much sums up my feelings, Mitch.
It's kind of like watching your mother-in-law go off a cliff in a Cadillac. You got mixed feelings.
That is exactly right. I've got mixed feelings about this, Mitch, because obviously for the game of golf, the uniting back the game of golf is a win. All right. Like, just at the end of the day, take everything aside, uniting the best players in the world again on one tour is a win, because ultimately that's where we want all the best players, is competing against each other. So
right.
The rest of the mixed feelings come with everything else surrounding this. And I think it's important for people to sort of understand in this that this deal is not a PGA-LIV deal. It is a PGA PIF deal. This is a deal with the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. And this gives that, which is the investor into LIV Golf, and essentially merges these entities into what will become a new organization. They're very vague about what this will actually mean in the future. There's no clear indication. It's just a new organization combining, the elements of LIV Golf with what we know today. The PGA Tour, from what I understand, what I've gathered from listening to people talk about this, is the PGA Tour as we know it will remain largely the same. My guess is that the DP World Tour and or LIV Golf will merge into some sort of secondary entity with a team element, with more exciting sort of stuff, with more of the loose rules and the vibes of LIV, but merging alongside PGA. And that tour is going to have the backing of the PIF, and they have like final say on who else gets to invest in this venture. Like, PGA gave Saudi Arabia basically carte blanche on the direction of this new golf league organization, which is quite fascinating in this. What this means for LIV Golf as we know it is dead. What it will become in the future, will they even use that name and moniker in the future? We don't know. The fact that all of this was done without informing any players from either tour or league is insane. And it's all just a lot of still like, what does this actually mean? This changes everything for what we know about golf, but how is still TBD really at this point. All we know is that the drama is over. These entities will merge, and somehow I guess we'll get back to hunky-dory. I don't know. Like, how is Rory and Phil get along again? the PGA asked these guys to stick their necks out, these PGA Tour players to stick their necks out, against the LIV Golf and sort of, take this defensive stance, and then they backslid them on this deal and said sorry.
That's the biggest problem I have with this is they asked their stars to stick their necks out and defend PGA. And then they go, it's like literally they just swept them, swept their feet out from underneath them and said, yep, screw you. We're actually going to merge with them. And it's, Rory was the biggest advocate for that. And now the poor guy's catching a lot of flack for it, and he shouldn't, because he was doing what he was asked to do, and he was doing probably what he should have been doing. And the league that asked him to do it didn't back him up in the end of it. So this is just, that's the problem I have with this. Is it looks like the PGA, it made the PGA look like they have no loyalty towards its players.
And frankly, they don't, based on the deal that they've made,
No.
And that's the shame in it. So again, mixed feelings, because yes, the best golfers in the world will probably be back together playing in all the tournaments, and the increased purses and the more flexibility, all those positive changes that came from this will still exist. And those are good. But there's just a lot of negative with how this played out and what this maybe means for the future that we'll still figure out. So TBD on that, but fascinating. Did not see this coming as quickly as it did. You knew that eventually, it wouldn't last forever, but I didn't expect after 2 years we'd already have a deal and be done with it. So I thought that was pretty surprising.
Yeah, that definitely happened faster than I thought it would. That's for sure. So
for sure. Mitch, the last little bit of news we want to talk about. We talked about hockey all year in the weekly Kraken update. So we would be remiss if we didn't mention that the Vegas Golden Knights won this year's Stanley Cup. They defeated the Florida Panthers last night. It was like 9-3 in the closeout game 5 in Las Vegas. A Stoner had the hat trick in the game, and the Vegas Golden Knights defeated the Florida Panthers in 5 games to take home their first Stanley Cup in just their 6th year of existence as an NHL franchise, which that stat is crazy. You hear that, Mitch? But then get this. They're like the 7th NHL franchise to do it in 6 years or less. This is like a really common thing in the NHL for franchise teams to win a Stanley Cup in their first 6 years. There's 7 different NHL expansion franchises that have done that. So when I saw that stat, I was just like, well, hey, we're good in Seattle. Hey, I mean, if Vegas can do it, if 6 other teams can do it, like, why can't the Kraken do it? So I'm feeling very confident that, we're heading in a good direction in Seattle, and maybe this could be us in a couple of years. But congrats to Vegas. They had a hell of a run.
Well, and I think the NHL has the expansion draft down pretty darn good.
They do
a really good job at making sure you're not going to bring a new franchise in and they're going to be a 15-win team for the next 5 years.
They're not going to be the Charlotte Bobcats.
Right.
They won't.
Yeah. So they have that down pretty darn good. Seattle, obviously, we just saw this year a beneficiary of that. Golden Knights, a beneficiary of that. So the NHL does a really good job at bringing in expansion teams and not setting them up for complete and total failure. So, but that stat is actually really eye-opening that there's been so many teams that have been able to do that. Vegas, much like Denver did in the NBA Finals, played like they were the best team. I mean, they blew the Panthers out in 3 of these games, 5-2 in game 1, 7-2 in game 2, 9-3 in game 5. And it was utter domination from the word go from the Golden Knights. Vegas, an expansion team we thought was going to win a title there in their first year.
Very first year they went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
So, glad that they finally got their Stanley Cup, Lord Stanley's Cup, and good for the Vegas Knights, man.
Yeah,
good for them.
Absolutely, and a great run to the Florida Panthers too. I love the symmetry between these the NHL championship and the NBA championship. Right, you had these number 1 seed dominant offenses, teams trying to win their first title, right, in Denver, in Vegas, and then on the other side, 2 Florida 8 seeds that like shocked everyone by making a run to the title, and you were like, oh,
that's
you
true.
had the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat, and you're like, oh, are they going to do it? And then both of them just ran out of steam in that final round, and ran into a buzzsaw. But hockey, we've loved, as the official podcast of the Seattle Kraken, we've loved covering the NHL season, and obviously specifically Seattle and their playoff run. And we'll look forward to talking about it again as it starts up. And again, hey, I'm feeling confident now, could be us in a couple years talking about a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it could be. It could be us. Why not us?
Why not us?
That's
Love
right.
it.